You should buy one.
We don't buy shit.
Do you not? Yeah. We're from the media.
Yeah. We blag it.
Yeah.
We're rolling. PD in the house. How you doing?
Yeah. I'm very, very well, thank you.
Yeah?
Yeah, very well with these legends of online content.
The internet.
Single make motorbike racing and general blagging it.
BSB stars now, aren't we?
Absolutely,
well, you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, worked hard for that 15th, didn't we?
15th? I was following you in practice. You were like 7th or something, weren't you?
Yeah, I got absolutely.
Well, that was a heat race, though, wasn't it?
Well, I was.
I'm disappointed now. I thought you were doing well.
And then ran to the.
He did do well. He did do well. He did very well. Did very well. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that.
No, we're not.
We are obviously we were here, Crescent Motorcycles, in. What was it, a year and a half ago? We did a little lap of Top Rack's bike downstairs.
I think it was the World Championship year, wasn't it? 21.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we've managed to blag a quick bit of chat with Paul to get some juicy gossip, as always, that we always get on this. Our bike we've just been running through with James. So our project this year is basically we bought a standard R1 and we're going through it bit by bit as best we can. It's actually really difficult to achieve bit by bit, but what do we need to do to go faster? What's cost effective? And how do we get it done?
So you thought you'd ask the bloke who's done plenty of laps over 135 mile an hour at the TT and probably get good answers, I would imagine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good tactic.
Yeah. So and now we're here with you to run us through. We're obviously our bike is never going to be the level of these things here, which we'll run through in a second. But this is kind of what you can achieve, right? With the GYTR bits and the other sort of special parts and knowledge that you guys have.
Yeah, I mean, as you've been discussing with James, there's a law of diminishing returns in terms of investment against both fun, lap time and safety, because the standard bike is just so good. But as Crescent Yamaha, our job is to not only advise people in the pro shop on how to enjoy the bike on the track from a performance and safety and reliability point of view, but also to fulfill people's dreams, because all of us like playing in the garage with our motorcycles and having the trickiest thing in the paddock or in the garage. So yeah, these two. This one is one of Lewis Hamilton's R1s. He's not been able to use this one for a little while due to his he's got a busy job, I believe.
Yeah, what does he do? Some drive, some four-wheel thing.
Seems to be away most weekends, so struggles to find the time to ride this thing. But we built these for Lewis a couple of years back. He's used them a couple of times. I think we've done 3 or 4 events.
Yeah, there was a Jerez one, wasn't there? With
we did a couple of days on the R1 before he jumped on the M1. He's cool. He tries really hard. He hasn't got a background in riding motorcycles, but his brain is so fast and his physical reactions are so fast that he believes he cannot believe he can be slower than anyone on anything mechanical. That's how his mind. So he's crashed every single time he's ridden, whether it's the M1, Valentino's bike, or his own R1. So he bounces well, which I think his Formula One team's quite happy about. And the bike's a really super spec. World Superbike, full World Superbike front fork, World Superbike brakes, suspension.
Proper tyres.
Proper tyres, absolutely. The Bridgestones are so stable, and ultimate grip, I don't think is the Bridgestone sort of strong point, even though they're very grippy, but the consistency of the tyre after laps is just incredible.
And that's not a kit swing arm, is it? That's the sort of the part swing arm, the Suter you could buy off the website. Because I was looking.
Suter's, most people who are into their bikes know Eskil Suter, sort of a legendary nutcase but very clever engineer, and the underslung Suter arm was one that we used at the start of the World Superbike in sort of 2016-17, before Yamaha moved on to designing and making their own factory part. But that's still available as a reasonably priced.
Yeah, it was surprising. I mean, it's still like 5 or 6 grand or something, but it was.
It's not lunacy.
No, it's not considering what else you can spend 5 or 6 grand on.
Exactly.
Like a whole motorbike.
But this one's got a lot of, it's got a GYTR spec top end, so it's got camshafts, good exhaust system, the different air intake funnels, so it probably makes around 210 horsepower, something like that, which is more than enough for track day use. All the right bits and a lovely bit of kit, yeah, absolutely super.
And then this is, I mean, I love this. This was a special edition bike that you guys built, wasn't it?
Yes, to celebrate the World Championship, we did 21 pieces. It's got if Alistair looks around here, it's got a little limited edition plaque on it on the side of the frame. So this one's bought and paid for, in fact, by a gentleman who works for Yamaha Europe, but hasn't taken delivery yet. I think he's just happy for it to be on display here for now. It was bought by a selection of collectors who wanted a limited edition World Championship Yamaha, and some people wanted a guy in the States who's just a track day nut who we're sending bits to all the time.
It's a very expensive thing, but in the grand scheme of things, it actually wasn't that expensive.
No, it wasn't so bad. It was 40,000 quid, including VAT. Yeah. A lot were sold to European customers who are business owners, so they were sort of losing the VAT on their purchase. Yeah. And
so it's at the price point which it can. Yeah, look, we understand that many people can't afford to go and crash one of these, but they're very lucky people, brave, like clever people, whatever, that can. And I think it's great that it is being designed to be used. That's the best thing.
And we deliberately did that. The spec is really, apart from the fact that it's obviously the limited edition and it's the top rack paint scheme and celebrates that World Championship, we did it at a spec that we said, within, let's say we got lucky and sold a couple of assets or left a few quid, what would you do to your R1? And in terms of the suspension choice, brakes, the brakes are not the World Superbike caliper, they're the GP4 RX caliper.
Well, this is it, and looking at our bike, so this is the one. This is why I like this one as well, because it's just about within reach.
Yeah, the cockpit of this is beautiful. The standard dash does the job, does everything functionality-wise, but super lovely GYTR top clamp, the GYTR switches, the smaller, more compact throttle assembly, got the Brembo master cylinder that obviously matches with the GP4X caliper, same remote adjuster that we use on the World Superbike. Trick little domino clutch lever with titanium pin, titanium bolts. The badge, the same nut, the badge. It's just kind of, you get on it just feels special.
If we can get our bike somewhere near this, then I'll be super happy. I mean, even if it looks like that when you're riding it, that's most of it. Yeah, I don't care what anyone else thinks.
No,
if that is us, then
it looks accommodating, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, we even did bits like sort of that do make a difference on the track, and we didn't need to spend the money to get the same price for the bike, but made it look like the World Superbike by trimming out the front sprocket cover, of course using correct 520 pitch racing chain and sprockets, changed the quick shifter to the Cordona quick shifter, which is the Yamaha one works great, but that's a racing quick shifter. They're prevalent actually in the Moto 3 World Championship more than anything else, and that quick shifter just gives a more mechanical, precise feel. The Yamaha one's a touch spongy by comparison on the lever feel. GYTR rear sets do a super,
Yeah, we've actually got these. We fitted the first half of it because we wanted to go race shift when we were out in Spain, but we didn't.
It made a big difference, didn't it?
It made just the lever action made a massive difference.
So on this one, the motor in fact is mechanically standard, but it's amazing the increase in performance you can get from the GYTR ECU, which allows a wider range of mapping options, and the good exhaust pipe, which obviously the industry standard is always the Akropovich, and well mapped, set up correctly, even though we have had customers who've decided to fit the GYTR engine kit with the camshafts, etc. For mere mortals. Yeah, more than enough performance.
I mean, even the standard bike for us is kind of, it's not a complaint. No, it's not a complaint. It's like this is fast enough. And actually, hopefully, if you give us the go ahead, we might be able to stick our bike on the dyno later and just do a bit
crack
of
on. Yeah, I won't be here, so you do what you want.
Oh, by the way, talking of promises, you did say we could ride Top Rack's bike.
You did actually, yeah.
Did I say that?
You did.
Yeah.
That was on camera as well. So.
But yeah, we were pleased with the attention to detail the lads put in, just from the titanium pro bolts around it, to the lock wiring, to the way the cable routing is done.
It looks more expensive than it actually is.
I think we did make a small error, to be honest, and probably it could have been more expensive given how limited edition it was, because only I think 3 or 4 got sold in the UK, the rest were all in Europe.
Right, okay.
So, with the relative weakness of the pound against euro. And it's got the man's signature on it as well.
And this is another, you were saying off camera about the rear caliper.
Well, yeah, I am to mechanic in probably what you are to motorcycle racing, and
absolutely shit.
Dreadful, yeah. And honestly, you know, at a normal track day, you're gonna do a tyre within the day, or at least for the next day. And in a hot garage somewhere like Jerez or Portimao, middle of the summer, you've done your 3, changing the rear wheel on a stock R1 is, you need to be a sort of multitasking person who can juggle 4 things at the same time and hold spaces in and balance it on your leg. Mates of ours have got specially sized bits of wood to balance the wheels.
Yeah.
Disaster. The underslung caliper option with the captive wheel spacers, it's just a dream. Undo the nut, pull the axle out, wheel comes out, straight back in.
We're getting that. We're definitely getting that, because we had to do 4 rear tyres, and you're just like, it's half an hour, yeah. And then both of us, hang on, lift it up a bit.
It turns a half-hour fuckfest into basically a nice, easy job. So
I wouldn't say no to a half-hour fuckfest. Actually, it's not too long either. Half hour.
No, most of us we're getting on a bit.
Yeah,
we can probably manage that.
Get the job done, couldn't you? And then just have a chamomile tea.
That is adding you no lap time. But probably the energy you save in a rear wheel change is adding a lot of lap time for the next session.
But a lot of lap time, potentially, if you're looking over the course of a weekend, is lost through fatigue, isn't it? So anything you can do, to even riding, like handlebars, we were saying that I find the standard bars way too cramped.
Yes, so these are further out with the GYTR handlebar. They're slightly wider as well, which is useful because of the switch mounting, but is deliberate as well to give a bit more leverage on the bars on the track. This piece, which we generally use on track day bikes, has more support for the rider compartment.
Definitely get one of them.
I haven't got a stock tank here, but offers just more support going forward, gives you something more to grip on with your legs, and makes the bike a little bit easier to ride as well. Probably if you're short, it wouldn't be the thing to have, but for yourself, it's definitely a help.
Well, yeah, if we can get anywhere near to this as a spec, we can't, but we'll be happy.
Because everything on this
bike. Are you going to give us some hooky bits?
It's from the Crescent Yamaha GYTR Pro Shop. Everything's available. What would be a struggle is to perhaps finish the bike as neatly as the guys have, because when you look at the on-off switch, I don't know if the battery's connected on this one, but the on-off switch is just hiding in there with a lovely little anodized cover to stop anything accidentally clicking it. And it's just the attention to detail. We've tried to make the customer feel that they're receiving something directly from the World Superbike team with that level of professionalism.
In a fantasy world where this bike isn't enough for me because I'm that good.
You obviously are.
Where do we go?
I've seen you. Well, Yamaha themselves have kind of out-tricked, out-accessorized anything that you as an individual or us as a GYTR Pro Shop can offer to the customer by bringing shortly to the market this thing, which is an R1, but not as we know it. It's called the GYTR Pro R1, but essentially it's a World Superbike. We've talked about replicas, we've talked about similar. It needs explaining that Yamaha is the first manufacturer to bring an actual real-to-life World Superbike and make it available to the public. So this bike is one of 3 that currently exist. Valentino has one, which you might have seen online with all the Drudy paint scheme, and he reuses that for fun. A couple of our mechanics were with him at the last time he rode it at Portimao doing suspension, electronics, and he's in love with the thing. And as I say, it is the World Superbike. I can't tell you when it will be available. That's up to Yamaha to announce. We've currently got this one on display here at Crescent Yamaha for anyone that wants to look at it for the next couple of months. But shortly, there will be an announcement. There will be a limited number available in the market. And Yamaha want to make the World Superbike available to the end user. That bike will be something that OMG Racing in the UK might buy because it's fully assembled factory World Superbike. They would unfortunately have to remove the electronics because it's too advanced for British Superbike. But it's really, I think, less likely to go to race teams as a complete package.
They should homologate like 150 of them.
Yeah.
Job done.
But if anyone's at Donington looking carefully at the bikes later this year, the swing arm is, again, not similar to the one used by Toprak and Locatelli. It's the same. The carbon self-supporting seat assembly, is the same. The tank unit, whereby most of
The tank.
It looks like a GP bike, doesn't it?
it's completely different. The fuel is only sitting really a relatively small amount here and quite a lot under the centre of the bike. From front to back, whether it's suspension, brakes, swing arm, seat assembly, tank, fairing, which is the actual World Superbike spec, clamps, and electronics. It's got the full World Superbike.
It is a different fairing shape, isn't it? The aero is adjusted to a degree, no?
It's within the regulations.
It's within the regulations, is it
yeah.
now? Right, okay.
Depending on how many whiskies you've drunk, it's within the no. So of course, any production-based racing series has an element of taking the regulation and using it to its maximum. Yeah. As team principal of the factory Yamaha World Superbike team, we can only say that Yamaha's done a really super job of maximising what
it looks amazing. It looks absolutely amazing. I mean, I saw this running at Paul Ricard.
That's right. So Nico Canepa rode the bike there, this actual bike, this particular one.
He overtook me on it, I think.
It smoked the World Endurance bike.
Right, okay.
It was just racing Le Mans that was there testing, and Nico clocked on the data 330 clicks down the back straight at Ricard on this. So it's in every absolute essence a proper thing. It's all the parts will be available to the end user as replacement parts. The customer will have to, not quite sure how the paperwork's going to run yet, but there will have to be something along the lines of an NDA that the customer can't take a given part and give it to.
Like when you buy ex-GP bikes, you have to sign NDAs and stuff, don't you?
Yeah, there will be an element of that because it's Yamaha's intellectual property that will be shared only via Yamaha's network of pro shops across Europe with end users that those shops trust.
So ultimately, if I had, I'm not even going to estimate, 150 grand probably?
That's my figure.
Yeah? I could come here and go, Paul, I want you to make me that. Or in fact, you wouldn't make it, it would be made in Italy, right?
No, the pro shops will assemble the bike.
Okay.
We're in a very fortunate position in that we build the World Superbike every other day to go racing anyway. So our guys know this packaging inside and out. But the other pro shops who don't know about the World Superbike have had training in Italy already on the assembly and maintenance. So essentially, the parts will be delivered to the pro shop, and the bikes won't be built from an OEM road bike. They'll be built from an engine. That gives you more of an idea. The only thing that's standard is the chassis and the engine, and obviously the engine doesn't finish standard, but basically you don't start with a road bike and strip it, you start with just a bare frame. So every fastener that's holding the thing together, none of them are OEM fasteners. They're all special fasteners, titanium, different designs, whatever it might be. And the pricing you mentioned is going to be less than that.
Really?
Yep.
£5 minute.
Yeah, 14999.
It's to be decided, but it's in pounds it will be less than £150,000. Yeah, and it's in inverted commas ridiculous sum depending on your point of view.
But there's ridiculous people out there that will buy it.
But we're hoping it will be a reasonable step less than that 150k mark, and it, as I say, if you want to own a World Superbike, there it is.
I think we got 7 or 8 seconds off our lap time with £1,000. But then you go to get another second off, you've got to spend another, 10,000 quid. And then to get a second off that, you've got to spend 50,000 quid. And then soon you're here, aren't you?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I think, going all the way back to the start of the process in your bike, you've done the right thing so far. If I had to say another 1,000 quid,
yeah,
I'd be doing that rear brake caliper and quick release so I could put a tyre in it more easily, and maybe a couple of option rear sprockets so that the gearing can match the track, and and that kind of stuff, and perhaps a set of fork springs rather than necessarily going too far the other way.
That's a good question actually. So let's say because we've done 1,000 quid, if we've got 3 grand, what are you spending on a standard R1?
Brakes and suspension. So,
which is what we're doing anyway.
Which is what we're doing.
And the interesting thing with this bike will be, for you and me, I'll try and class this in the same sort of realm with track day punter, is that probably we'd have more fun on your bike with a few mods, because it does get to a point whereby the stiffness of the, and I don't mean stiffness up and down of suspension, even though that has a factor, but rigidity of suspension, swing arm, subframe assembly, etc. The bike can be a bit intimidating. That said,
don't get me wrong. Yeah.
That said, I think we'd all enjoy getting to that point of finding that out or not.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. If this is sat in the pit lane, it's been warmed up for you, and you've got a tech here holding it like this, and it's like, come on, and you're going to swing. I mean, you're going to be a bit nervous as well, though, aren't you?
Yeah, but it's worth lap time. You'd be that excited by the time you jumped on it, you'd probably loop it out there. And apparently, every buyer has to be able to do at least a 200-metre rolling stoppie and turn it into the garage like Top Rack. Otherwise, it's
I'm out then.
It's just not happening. Yeah. So.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, look.
It's a trick thing, though, yeah.
Before we go, you must have some sort of slightly damaged parts from bikes that we can steal.
I've got to be somewhere this afternoon. I would just nick stuff without telling anyone. Yeah, just
perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, mate.
Right.
And I'll see you in Jerez with Top Rack's bike.
Yeah, look forward to it. Cheers.